I might just go and stab him again, but...
Alright, do not stab him again.
Why?
Okay, so just listen to my voice. Okay?
Yes.
Stay on the line with me.
I am complimented.
Okay, are you with the patient now?
Well, I'm in the lounge and he's in the kitchen bleeding to death with any luck.
Showing no remorse, 66-year-old Penelope Jackson has just murdered her husband, 78-year-old David Jackson. Married for nearly 25 years, this couple seemingly had a happy relationship, enjoying retirement in the quaint county of Somerset. They would often go on cruises and just potter around their garden located in a sleepy village. So what happened? In the 1970s, Penelope was part of the Royal Air Force. That's where she met her first husband, whom she married in 1973. They had 2 daughters and were happy for a while, but then the husband became violent. Penelope upped and left with her children. Penelope met and married her second husband quite quickly after that, but this marriage didn't last long as he then subsequently revealed that he was gay. With her second divorce finalised, Penny then met Alan at work. Alan was married with 3 children, but this didn't stop him pursuing things with Penny, and an affair began. At the time, Alan's wife had cancer and she loses her battle at just the young age of 36. Unfortunately, she finds out about the affair Alan has been having with Penny before she passes. An incredibly sad situation just gets worse as after her funeral, Alan basically disowns all 3 of his children in order to pursue his new love affair with Penny. He sends them away to either boarding school or to live with other family members. These children have just lost their mother and their father decides to reject them. Alan and Penny become an item. They subsequently have a daughter called Isabel. As a family unit, they are very happy together. However, after some time, Alan begins to work away a lot more because of his job. He's travelling to the Middle East a lot, and Penny is left on her own with their daughter Isabel. She subsequently becomes quite bored and lonely. She switches job. She goes from administrator in the RAF to an administrator in the armed forces, and this is where she meets David. David Jackson is a lieutenant in the armed forces. He is married with children, but again, this doesn't stop him from pursuing things with Penny. They would often make excuses to see each other at work. This isn't the first time David Jackson has had an affair. He had been married previously, and his first wife he cheated on with a lady called Sheila, who he subsequently married. History seems to be repeating itself, and he is now cheating on his second wife, Sheila, with Penny. In 1993, Alan, Penny's husband, returns from the Middle East, and he finds out about this affair between Penny and David. He is distraught, incredibly upset, and just a few days after finding out about this affair, he takes his own life by carbon monoxide poisoning. At Alan's funeral, his brother said that Penny seemed unbothered by his death. She saw husbands as disposable and believed she was a narcissist. Sheila, David's wife, also found out about the affair after Penny rang their home phone demanding to speak to David. Sheila and David divorced, and then David and Penelope married in 1996. They lived together with Penny's daughter Isabel, and David treated Isabel as if she were his own daughter. So Penny, David and Isabel formed this new family unit, and as a family they seemed very happy for a while. They often travelled around Europe because of David's job. However, just 2 years after their marriage, this would all change. In 1998, David's son Gavin took his own life after he cheated on his pregnant partner. In his suicide note, he wrote that he didn't want to be like his father and that he felt he didn't deserve to live. David took this hard and felt responsible for his own son's death. He became bad-tempered and violent, with Penny often facing the brunt of this. There was even an incident in public where the entire family were out for a meal. David got so angry that he held Penny up by knife point. It took 3 family members to remove him. Family and friends believe that David was going through an extreme period of grief, and that's why he had these violent outbursts. There is no excuse, however, for any domestic violent behaviour. There were no public incidents after this, and David and Penny remained together for a long time, like over 20 years. They went into retirement together and they seemed like a happy couple. They would bicker, but there was nothing concerning that would suggest what would happen next. It's February the 13th, 2021, and the UK is in lockdown due to COVID. It's Penny's birthday and her daughter Isabel decides to arrange a fancy dinner via Zoom. When the video call starts, she noticed that her mother seemed subdued and it looked like she'd been crying. Penny would later state that her and David had had an argument because the iPad wasn't charged in time ready for this call. Celebrations began for Penny's birthday, and for starters they all tucked into lobster. Main was steak, and then Penny brought out a side dish of bubble and squeak. Bubble and squeak, if you're not from the UK, is like fried up vegetables with potato, and it's often seen as kind of like a cheaper meal, and this was the opinion of David. He accused Penny of ruining their fancy dinner by bringing out some cheap fried up food. This sparked a huge argument between David and Penny, to the point where Penny ended the Zoom call as she didn't want her daughter witnessing it. Fearing that David would become violent, Penny grabbed a knife from the kitchen, went into the bedroom and hid it under her pillow. She then proceeded to try and fall asleep. After some time, David also retired to bed and he spotted that knife under the pillow. He asked Penny what she was going to do with it, and she said that she was going to take her own life as she couldn't handle the abuse anymore. David began to taunt her, saying, "Go on then, just get it over with." He didn't take that threat of suicide very seriously, and so Penny gets up and goes into the spare bedroom where David follows her. They begin having an incredibly heated argument again, and Penny threatens to hurt David. He taunts her again, saying, "You can't do that, you don't have it in you to do that." And so Penny takes the knife and slashes David across the chest. He falls to the floor and is bleeding. Penny walks out into the hallway and begins to write a confession note, which states, "To whom it may concern, I have taken so much abuse, look at my records, but he was a good daddy. I accept my punishment." Whilst writing this note, David crawls into the lounge. He then pulls himself up and enters the kitchen. He grabs the telephone and begins to dial 999. He then taunts Penny again and says, "I'm going to call the police on you." The receiver on the other end answers and they can hear David taunting Penny. He's saying things like, "You're pathetic, you wouldn't stab me again, the first time was just a fluke." Penny then stabs David twice more and the responder can hear David screaming. Penny then picks up the phone and that's when we hear her beginning to admit her guilt. Police arrive at 9:25 p.m. and Penny answers the door in her pyjamas. She seems very nonplussed, like not bothered, and she keeps saying that she really hopes that David is dead.
I'll go in and see what they're doing.
Yeah,
Could I get my coat?
just bear with me 2 seconds.
In there. I admit it all.
Alright.
Just get them. Alright, I want to go in. Alright.
No,
So-
he's on the kitchen
Yeah.
floor.
Can someone just stay with Devon while I go in?
There's nothing nasty, and I'm certainly not. My coat's in the.
Yeah, just
Ow,
wait
it's
2
a bit
seconds.
hot.
Alright, you okay? You alright?
With any luck, you'll be too late. Can I get my coat?
We'll get you a
Right,
coat.
get the ambulance in. Pronto, we need
Oh,
CPR.
don't. No, please don't.
Yeah, we
I
need the
should have
ambulance in.
stabbed him a bit more. He's an aggressive bully and nasty, and I've had enough. And when he said you wouldn't do it, I did it twice more. Coat's in.
What colour's your
go
coat?
in the front.
Yeah.
Grey wardrobe.
Okay, it might be a while, all right, but I'll try and get. There's obviously a lot going on. Okay.
Oh,
but
with any luck, it'll be too late.
Penelope, my advice is don't talk about it now. Okay.
No, I have no intention of not agreeing to what I've done.
Okay.
I know what I've done.
All right.
And I know why I've done it. And if I haven't done it properly, I'm really annoyed.
As we can see, she's more concerned about her coat than she is about her husband. They initially charge her with manslaughter as David is still alive, but when she arrives at the police station, they change the charge to murder. On hearing this, Penny starts cheering because that means David is dead.
Further arresting you for murder.
Oh, good.
At this point, she's flowing with her confession. She's admitting everything. She's not bothered. She shows no remorse. She's not sorry. And she's just like, yeah, I'm guilty. But the next day, when they begin questioning, she refuses to answer questions and is now claiming that it's self-defense. She quickly changes her tune the next day and she begins saying that David had been abusive for years. Allegations which really upset and angered David's family. Penny said, I didn't know if I was waking up to a nice David or nasty David. It would escalate and he would shake me most of the time. He strangled me sometimes and I would go unconscious. At trial, various members of friends and family testified that David was not abusive. In fact, they went on to say it was Penny that was the offensive one. She purposely made people feel uncomfortable. David's ex-wife Sheila testified that he was actually scared of Penny, as she had threatened to cut off his genitals if he ever left her. David's eldest daughter recalls how she came to David and Penny for some advice for her failing marriage. Penny said, it's easy if your husband just takes his own life, referring to her previous husband, Alan. Penny's daughter Isabel said that she had witnessed some abuse from David, particularly after his son died, but he was not the monster her mother was making him out to be. Her parents seemed to be enjoying a happy retirement, but often bickered over small things, with her mother's temper flaring and quickly passing, while her father had a tendency to sulk. The other thing we also have to remember in this case is that David is not here to defend himself. Allegations of domestic abuse should always be taken seriously. In this case, it was very difficult for the jury to weigh up what was right, what was wrong, what was the truth. Was David abusive? Was he a threat to Penny at the time of the murder? In October 2021, the jury decided that Penny was guilty of murder. They concluded that she could have stopped after the first attack, as David was then not a threat to her anymore. It's unlikely that once he fell to the floor bleeding that Penny was still fearful for her life. Also, her attitude after the events, her kind of callous nature, showing no remorse or empathy, didn't necessarily come across as someone who had been defending themselves and in fear of their own life. Penny was given a life sentence with a minimum term of 18 years, which means she'll be 84 when she is eligible for parole. She has subsequently appealed this decision, but as far as I know, it's been rejected. That was the case of Penelope Jackson. If you like my content, please remember to like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you in the next one.